In this video, we're now going to discuss reverse opposite divergence. It's an interesting form of divergence. I don't put a lot of weight to it, but it does exist and it may be meaningful to you. Let's describe first of all what it is. Now you can have bullish divergence, which means that we've got a divergence forming at the low of a move. It's bullish, and therefore we want to take a long trade. Bearish divergence, just the opposite. We want to take a short trade at the top of a move. But reverse opposite divergence is where the bearish divergence appears at the bottom of a move, and the bullish divergence appears at the top of a move. Okay? Now, we've highlighted bearish divergence in yellow, these yellow crosses, and bullish divergence is the green cross. All right? Now, as you see this move that came down, you saw bearish divergence happening toward the bottom of the move. And as we moved up here to the VWAP, we've got bullish divergence forming at the top of the move. That's all that it is. Bearish divergence at the bottom is actually bearish opposite divergence. In other words, it's bullish. Okay. Bearish at the bottom of a move is bullish. Bullish at the top of a move is bearish. Reverse opposite divergence. Okay? So you're going to want to follow your indicators on this. But for example, as we see this move down here, we're obviously looking at what's happening at the bottom of the move. All right? What's happening at the bottom of the move? What's happening at the bottom of the move? We're not going to be at all concerned about what's happening at the top if we're looking for bearish opposite divergence. So the only time I'm going to think about taking a trade off of this type of divergence is after we've reached the bottom. I'm going to be looking at a break through the lower threshold for bearish opposite and a break above the upper threshold for bullish opposite. So would I take a possible bullish opposite trade right in here? Sure. Or what about in here? No, we're not breaking high enough. How about over here? Yeah. Maybe here because the VWAP is pretty obvious. And I can see divergence in the indicator, but I don't have any signal there. Okay. Now I have one over here, and I've almost made it above. But again, I'm looking at where the VWAP is more than the indicator in this particular case. Let's look a little further. Okay. Now we've got a lot of divergence in here, so that's already predictive of a move, and we've got some bearish opposite divergence showing up there. Over here, very much so. Break below the threshold. Bearish opposite divergence. That looks good. Over here, possibly, yeah. Down here, we've got divergence forming, so that's all already pretty obvious. There's no great value to the bearish opposite divergence. Over here, right above the VWAP, we see all of this dropping. Yeah, and then we have that. Okay, that's further confirming the normal regular divergence of the indicator here along with that. So that's a good possibility of working for us. Now, how do you set it up in the indicator? It's very easy. First of all, you're going to need to decide on what interval you want to display this. It can be displayed at any interval, but keeping in mind that once this fires, you've got one bar after that to see whether or not you're going to take the trade. So I personally would want this on a fairly fast interval. The 2500 for me would be a little bit slow. So I've got this on a 500. You could put it on a 100, or you could put it on a 1000, 1500, maybe a 2000. Once you're getting beyond that, now it's a little bit slower. And because the display of this form of divergence is going to occur after the pivot takes place. And so you're already lagging behind by a few bars. So that's why I would say, yeah, you don't want to put this on a large interval bar, because it's already behind the curve in most cases. So anyway, let's go back into the indicator itself. Now, I've labeled this reverse opposite so that I know what it is. I'm going to be using the RSX for this purpose. And as you can see at the end of the code is the 0.05 and the 10. That's the diagonal length of 0.05, the RSX length of 10. Okay, and so you want to display the RSX on the screen so that you have a good idea of what's happening when it is occurring. I've only got the divergence signal itself being plotted here. I'm not plotting the pivot. It's kind of irrelevant. Well, it's not irrelevant, but it's of no use when it comes to identifying where the divergence is taking place. So anyway, of course, you can manipulate these numbers. If you increase the length, it's going to reduce the number of signals. But the thing that I believe is the most critical setting here using reverse divergence is the minimum bars between the signals. So I've set this very high, 100 bars, minimum bars between the pivot bars. This is the number of bars between pivots. So 100, 500 tick bars is, of course, 50,000 ticks. And actually, that's not that much, not in a fast-moving market. But if you go much above this, you're going to considerably reduce the number of signals, even to the point where you may not get any at all. For example, let's just change this. Keep an eye out on the screen here and watch how this changes. If I set this to 150, notice what happens. Nothing. I've got nothing. A few over there. So I've really cramped my ability to get a signal using a high number like that, and it's not going to be particularly accurate. So just increase this, but don't go too high. I like 100, and then I'm using Oh, yeah, you gotta get down here. Make sure that this is set to true. You're using opposite bearish, opposite bullish. Set those to true. Then if you want to use the thresholds, you've got to set that up. And you could further reduce this by changing the thresholds. Now, these thresholds are pretty low. Look at what happens if I move it up to 75, which is where the indicator is set at the moment. Now we've already moved this number back to 100. Let's look at it again. Okay. Still looks pretty good. All right. So that's how you set it up. Now, as we've mentioned in our previous videos, I like to create a study, all right, so that if I want to add reverse divergence onto any workspace, I don't have to go in and reinsert the code. I can create a study, save study group,